Hello, my name is Adriel Castillo, and this is my Benchmark Southwest Transit PowerPoint. Starting with the selection of my team, I selected Natalie, William, Elizabeth, and Susan. Going for the reasoning, starting with Natalie, she's a smooth communicator, very competitive in nature. This also makes her a great negotiator among a team. William is very experienced in his work, which makes him engaging. William is able and open, he's a very good team player. Elizabeth is extremely collaborative among the team, which comes across as being a great listener. Elizabeth has big goals for herself, but is very open-minded on ideas. Susan is someone that brings great positive energy, and because of this, she is considered very trustworthy. She lets her ideas flow, and she's very free-spirited in nature. Some strengths of the team. Natalie has a strong personality, and this makes her very motivated and creative. William is a veteran that's seen it all. He's spontaneous and tends to avoid any confrontation. Elizabeth is a natural-born leader and a problem solver. She's also very detail-oriented in her work. Susan is a positive personality that brings good energy and is also very open-minded. Susan is meticulous in her work and wants to make sure she's doing her role the best. Some weaknesses of the team. At times, Natalie can be independent, apart from the group, have some disdain for her employees and say that they're gossiping too much. She can be overly competitive and sometimes lacks verbal communication. William at times can be inefficient. He also is a perfectionist and struggles to get motivated since he has seen all projects in the organization. Elizabeth sometimes rushes to meet deadlines. She's hesitant and stationary because she's also a perfectionist. At times, Susan is the opposite. She lacks focus and skips over things and struggles with listening. Now we move on to team potential. Selected are individuals that have contrasting styles, almost a yin-yang effect. Individuals possess team experience as some on the team are natural leaders. Potential on the team is very high due to the balance provided among the team members. We have a quote there that says, "Group cohesiveness is the extent to which a group is committed to remaining together. It results from forces acting upon members to remain in the group." Griffin, 2020. Then we move on to the motivation and management strategies, starting with the ERG theory, which core revolves around the existence, relatedness, and growth. This is good for complex problems within a group that can be resolved within this management strategy. Then we move on to the flexible reward system, which gives the employees choices and the salary. It also has certain incentives towards the completion of a project. Then we look at collectivism, which is the concerted effort of the we before me mentality, which really places an effort on more so the group than the individual. Then we move on to part 2 of the motivation and management strategies, starting with accommodating. You hear this one a lot in the hotel, restaurant, service industry. Definitely customer service oriented. It's the act of placing one's happiness before yourself. We move on to mutual acceptance, which is a beginning stage of development where agreements are made and kept to keep pushing forward. I think this can be very beneficial for Natalie and let's say Susan, who are different in nature and have different working tendencies. Pushing the boundary of awkwardness is important as a good foundational pillar for the group. Moving on to control in the organization stage, a crucial step in the group process, which shows the operational part of it and how efficient the group is. Then we have a quote there that says, "Accommodating reflects a low concern for your own interests and a high concern for the interests of the other party." Griffin, 2020. Then we have the embodiment of conscious capitalism and the stakeholder role, starting with conscious culture, compromising, flexible schedules, and stakeholder orientation. These are all very important for how the business and operation runs, referring to the commonality of a group and working together as the same common goal. Then we have a quote there that says, "A value-based culture is one that is intentional about how people act and perform. When a culture is not defined and enforced, your people aren't all moving in the same direction." We move on to part 2 of the embodiment, starting with a higher purpose led by William and Susan, which they would see a deeper vision within the group. Moving on to conscious leadership, which would be guided by Natalie and Elizabeth with natural leadership tendencies. Then we go to corporate social responsibility, which would also be led by Elizabeth and Natalie, who would have flawless, perfect execution and making sure everything is correct. Then we have a healthy system of communication from business to shareholders, which would be led by everybody, but in particular Susan and William, since they have a elder respect among the organization and group. Then we have the Whole Foods picture, as you see, who practices conscious capitalism. Then we move on to stakeholder value, which consists of business owners, employees, and investors. It's important to realize that this network is complex and needs other pieces to work along with them. So we have the business owners who make the decisions and the voice, the employees who carry out the operations of it, and the investors who back the business with the capital. Then we move on to the impact. Natalie is a go-getter. She's going to instill that hustler mindset to everyone. William is going to let his ideas flow, and investors will be more excited about it. Elizabeth brings value in by double-checking easy mistakes that can be made. And Susan, she's a jokester. She's going to bring a lightheartedness to the group, and it's going to be more easygoing to the organization as a whole. Here are my documentation of sources. Thank you for your time.